Hi everybody, this is Rita Townsend and I want to welcome you to my Friday afternoon. I want to tag a few friends right now because this information is so vital. I am so excited to share it, and I also want to tell you why I am incredibly excited about it. Because like many of you, I have been a little frustrated maybe sometimes about information. We throughout the course of this COVID, we have been getting a lot of information, and oftentimes it's even conflicting information. And that to me is very concerning, because if you're getting conflicting information, what do you do as an individual to protect yourself, protect your family, to really know what is valid and what is worth doing to protect your health, both in the short term as we have this COVID around us, and also particularly in the long term. So two things happened to me this week that really were exciting and a wake-up call, and I felt like finally something that we can wrap our heads around with and know that this is really something that is valid. In the research world, we don't take just one paper or one study or one person. We look at the preponderance of information. And as COVID has gone, we've had a very, very narrow window of information. But we've also had, miraculously, a vaccine that is showing surprisingly high success rates. So when you look at that and you look at the end of what we've been going through, don't you also need to know how to deal with it day to day, and even over these next few months? So some really important information has come out recently that is going to answer a lot of questions, not just about COVID, but about your health in general. So these are the two things that happened to me this week. The first thing that happened was one of my own company doctors who gave a Facebook Live about something called postviral syndrome. Now, I've heard about that, and I think I've even shared about that on some of my lives. But here's what you need to know about that. What we know now about this postviral syndrome is that it can be happening with people who have been asymptomatic with COVID. Okay, so what that translates to you is that maybe you haven't been diagnosed or confirmed or even really had what you thought would be symptoms of COVID. But you may have some other things going on in your health life that you may be concerned about. And here is what this post-viral syndrome looks like. It's very simple. It's things like fatigue, sleeplessness, headaches, brain fog, and maybe some stomach discomfort, but these things last a very long time. Now, if you look on the National Institutes of Health, PubMed.gov, you'll see a lot of studies that have been recently coming out about this post-viral syndrome. And here's what they say very succinctly. Now, there's two things that I'm going to tie together for you today, and you're going to have, I hope, an aha moment like I've had. Because I'm a real health advocate, and I've really tried to do everything I can throughout to really stay healthy. So we're looking at people, and this is from these studies, we're looking at people who've experienced this long-term health consequence of post-viral syndrome. And some of the symptoms include things like fatigue and brain fog. But these symptoms are related. Now, don't let this word trip you up. The syndrome may be related to something called cytokines that cross the blood-brain barrier and affect the brain. Now, you've heard stories of people who've suffered neurological damage, heart damage, pulmonary, a lot of these things So I'm going to give you a picture today of how all this comes together. So what happens over time, it's a little bit unexplained persistence of some of these fatigue issues. Women are twice as likely to have these symptoms as men. But some of the abnormalities that have been documented, and this is by Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas, that are symptomatic of this are nervous, immune, and metabolic syndromes that are all showing abnormalities. If you're older, these health issues can even last longer. And the second part of what I'm sharing with you today is going to tie this all together in a great big package with a bow on it. So even though we're not even really 6 months out with some of these people that have been diagnosed with COVID and the postviral syndrome, there is now a lot of similarity presenting itself. So, and here's the treatment for some of this postviral syndrome. Now, I'm going to tie this back to some of the things that our particular doctor shared relating some of these things. Feed your mitochondria. I'm going to touch on that in a moment. Reduce the inflammation. Now, I want you to remember that word inflammation as I go into the second half of this. And probio, you need to get your gut health balanced with really good microbiome. And hydration. Now, I don't know about you, but most people have a real hard time just drinking a lot of water. She recommends a half a gallon a day and physical activity. And to remember to hydrate first thing in the morning, because most people just simply get dehydrated through the night. So we deal with sleep disturbances with some of the typical measures, but you need to also deal with some of the relaxation measures like yoga and exercise and meditation. Also acupuncture and massage. Physical exercise. Now, if you're suffering from this fatigue syndrome, it's very akin to chronic fatigue syndrome. And this means that the exercise is important, but it has to be a gradual return to exercise. And here's this word again, inflammation. The results of this inflammatory cytokines crossing the blood-brain barrier just releases a lot of problems in your body. Now, I'm going to make a quick jump to part 2. So later this week, and if you want these articles, and in particularly if you want this video that I'm referring to was done by a very prominent doctor. You might have even seen him on PBS. And he's called the neurological expert or something like that. Okay, so his point in his information is this. As we age, we lose energy in something very, very basic. That's a critical part of our metabolic function, and that's mitochondria. So how do you want to, I can't use the word prevent, but I can certainly say, how do you want to choose to stay healthy? Some very important things that you can do. And these studies are also all over National Institute of Health, PubMed.gov. The age-associated decline in mitochondria make us more vulnerable to viral infection. The loss of energy in our mitochondria leads to infection and increases inflammation, and the COVID-19 virus can take control of our mitochondria and even overpower some of our neurological functions. So there's a lot more information in this, and there's some more information on his website. And there's also another new study that's been published in the Journal of American Medicine, or JAMA. So here's my point. as we go through this now and as we go through the future, there's some things that you need to know. We've identified what is going on in the body in terms of COVID-19. We've identified some of the damage long term that it can leave, and the reason that it primarily affects the aging population is largely related to the loss of functionality in their ability within the mitochondria to fight off viruses. When this crosses the blood-brain barrier, then your protective mechanisms have also been reduced. And then you're talking about neurological damage, heart damage, pulmonary damage, all of the things that you may be hinting or it may be hinted about in the news, but you don't really know any of the mechanisms behind it or the why behind it. So some of these are very simple. I'm happy to send you these articles. I'm happy to send you more information. I'm happy to send you what I do personally, but I can tell you this. When we start seeing the convergence of this information and we start looking at the future of our health, then these are things that we know that are proven by the preponderance of research that they're valid and they're important and they're worth making a part of your lifestyle and your health regimen. Now, there's a wealth of information for you to study out there. I'll send you what I do, what I study, but here's the thing I want you to take away from today. In my little world, two people, very highly respected doctors who are experts, are putting information out for the public that you can get to and you can use. Some of this is very important and very basic, like your immune function. Some of it you may not understand what tools you can embrace for building your mitochondria health. But I want to just share with you that there's a lot of information out there. I will send you the research and send you the studies. I was excited to see it because I've been very fortunate over these last months, and so have my immediate family members. And now I'm beginning to see a pattern in people of why it seems to be attacking the older population with these other conditions. And why even young people, even young athletes that we've heard of that have been diagnosed with COVID are now having some long-term effects. So if there is a weakness, it's going to attack it, and it could be long-term damage for even young and healthy people. So that's my message for today. I was excited to share it. I hope it was something that you think is worthwhile, and I'm always happy to share. So go out there and be healthy and have a great weekend.